The Purpose of Dueling and the Bureaucratic Hell That Replaced It, posted by CatGirlKulak on her Substack, Anarchonomicon. December 11th, 2023. Dueling was primarily used to settle matters of sexual impropriety and regulate gossip, professional and personal. It certainly worked better than HR. Part of the norm was that it was just expected men who did not duel, peasants, etc., could be beaten, socially exiled, or worse, for a direct insult. But amongst gentry aspirants and above, which might include actors, lawyers, and shopkeepers' sons on the very low end, things like an insult to a female relative's reputation, or worse, direct molestation offered, would be settled by a duel. There'd be a meeting of seconds to see if some apology or arrangement could be made, perhaps the most common being that upper-class men who defiled, consensually or not, women of slightly lower station might consent to marry them and restore their honor, lest they die at the hands of a male relative. Likewise, matters of personal and financial ruin often came to duels. Russian playwright, poet Alexander Pushkin fought 29 duels across his life to much celebration. Lesser duels over minor insults only rarely resulted in death or injury. However, towards the end, in a personal death spiral of debts and scandal, not the least of which was a persistent life-destroying rumor his wife had or was cheating on him with their brother-in-law, George Charles Danthes, a French officer, Pushkin, attempting to salvage his honor and reputation, sent Danthes an insulting letter, practically demanding a duel, which went ahead despite their friends' protestations. Another big one was professional gossip. In an age before regulation, what made you trust professionals was their personal reputations. Screwing clients might not just ruin them professionally, but socially. Their daughter might be forced to marry a disgusting tanner's or muckraker's son, as opposed to now where it's a game to find regulatory loopholes that will let you screw your clients. Naturally, this reputation had to be guarded, so they would duel to defend it. Ergo, people were reticent to insult them, and their increasingly terse demands that a poor job be set to right had a ringing sound of steel to it. Of course, one needed not be upper class to have upper class pretensions or to live in a community where reputations and honor mattered a great deal. Thus, to the amusement of the elite and deadly earnestness of the participants, less formal but no less serious feuds and duels of honor were to be found in the lowest of the social strata, amongst farmers, herdsmen, and even amongst the more organized or pretentious of criminals. And if a professional like a lawyer or architect, or even an actor or court lady, actors and women's duels are a bizarre little world all their own, the melodrama, well, if they destroyed professional venture or estate, or the prospects of a fellow actor or lady, they might be left to flee the region and abandon the vocation, or face the risk of death. The profession that was most regulated by the duel was, of course, the military. Instead of the modern expectation that incompetence would be covered up and abuses which threatened the service tolerated, 18th and 19th century militaries would often see officers and cavalrymen who had seen enough of a colleague's dangerous failures and refusal to resign issue an insult for which to not respond would be social and professional death. The bravery of officers and cavalry was so important, and the mere insinuation of cowardice so corrosive to their prospects, let alone refusing or failing to appear for a duel, which might be more socially and professionally devastating than a felony conviction in the modern era, that of course they'd have to show up and see their professional differences finished in one party apologizing or coming to terms, far more likely in lesser civilian professions, or more likely, in the case of military men, death. Our entire world of human resources, business regulation, disaster inquiries, review boards, civil right administrators, product testers, minor lawsuits, family court, dispute resolution, anti-discrimination meetings, all of it exists to regulate personal and professional interactions in such a way as to keep institutions barely tolerable to the elite and the people inside them. And the Victorians, Georgians, and Caroleans before them maintained better functioning institutions, families, and militaries with none of it, because they were personally and socially committed to quality, the quality of their women, the quality of their professions, the quality of their militaries, the quality of their societies, the quality of themselves, and their reputations for that quality. And if you were compromising that quality, or if you insulted it, they'd fucking kill you or die trying. Such a threat made regulation by bureaucracy not only unnecessary, but insulting. Of course, as with all good and beautiful things in the world, the Enlightenment and utilitarianism, which never saw anything useful it could not destroy, killed the institution. By the 1850s, the last dueling in the British Empire was considered a curiosity, with the article Dead and Gone Shots appearing in Charles Dickens' publication All the Year Round in 1862. In America and on the European continent, it continued in its fashions. In the United States, and especially after the Civil War, formal dueling collapsed or was outlawed, and the term was used to describe the quick draw duels of which Western fans will be familiar, and other hot-headed impromptu eruptions in violence. On the European continent, formal dueling continued and was a major part of military culture in the French, German, and Russian empires right up until World War I, when political destabilization broke the social cultures which produced duels in Germany and Russia, and the French finally losing all dueling culture after World War II. A few curiosity duels occurred into the 70s in France and South America. The participants themselves engaged as much in personal myth-making and publicity as they were a truly honor-based dispute demanding satisfaction. But on the fringes and in the cracks of society, you still see little echoes. Much as conservative political commentators are loath to ever speak of the matter, Justin Trudeau won his government in a boxing match. The 2012 stunt, put together by right-wing Canadian Jewish personality Ezra Levant, was supposed to be a fun humiliation of the rookie MP by conservative Indigenous black belt Senator Patrick Brazeau. However, it turns out karate and youth are not a replacement for actual bare minimum boxing training. So Trudeau won the match, and with it, much of the publicity and mysterious aristocratic majesty that would quickly propel him to head the dying Liberal Party, and then to win his first majority. And of course, just a year before, in 2011, Donald Trump had his appearance at WWE's WrestleMania, appearing as the victorious, face-defeating eternal heel and real-life friend, Vince McMahon. Of course, any wealthy rapper can tell you the unparalleled power of the perception of violence, the unquantifiable reputational superpower that is being known as an OG, original gangster, who keeps it real, as opposed to all the fake rappers who only pretend, though. And of course, like the Russian poet Alexander Pushkin before them, many have died trying to maintain that reputation. Then there is the last place one can experience the old world of blood and saber. Whilst the French have at last abandoned the duel, and Americans might still train for a quick draw out of concern for drugged-out psychotics, the bloody world of German academic fencing still survives, though fascists, communists, and liberal Democrats have all tried to kill it off. Where the Mensur is still fought, and like Bismarck before them, young German lads might receive nasty dueling scars on their face as their instructors tell to smile widely so the scars open and set properly. Of course, none die, but then most survived earlier duels. But the mystique of violence and the strange binding power of the threat, it still survives in cute little cities and mountain forests, in boxing clubs, shooting ranges, ghetto alleys, and presidential offices. That the gentlemanly aristocratic spirit of sword and shot might return even as the bureaucrats fail and fall. This Substack essay can be found linked below. Please patronize Autonomicon.